My best friend burned my house down. So I burned down her life. My name is Leah, or at least it used to be. Back then, I was the quiet girl. The one who made herself small so people wouldn't notice the stutter in her voice or the second-hand clothes on her back. I wasn't the type people invited to parties or tagged in photos. I wasn't loud, or pretty, or even particularly smart. I was a shadow in the back of the room. A girl who memorized faces but whose own was always forgotten. Do you know what smoke smells like when it's wrapped around your childhood? It smells like lies. Like laughter that was never real. Like everything you thought you were burning. From the inside out, that night. I sat in a police blanket watching my house melt into the ground. Flames danced where my bedroom used to be. The sky pulsed red, and somewhere behind the sirens and screams, I heard her giggle. But let me take you back before the heat. Before the smell. Before I became what I am now, until her, Savannah Hart, she was everything I wasn't. Charismatic, magnetic. She lit up every hallway she walked through like she owned the air people breathed. Girls wanted to be her. Boys wanted her. Teachers forgave her. Principals adored her, and somehow, she picked me. She found me in 9th grade sitting alone by the dumpsters during lunch and said, "You look like a wounded puppy. Want to be my charity case?" I laughed. She didn't, but I followed her anyway. For 4 years, I orbited her world. I became her project. Her pet. Her favorite accessory when she wanted to seem deep. She let me tag along, as long as I remembered the rules. Don't speak too much. Don't talk to her crushes. Don't think you're equal. Smile when spoken to. And always, always owe her, and I did owe her. She helped me fake confidence. Helped me lie to myself that I was changing. That I belonged. That maybe, just maybe, someone like her could love someone like me. It was a fantasy. And like all fantasies, it had to burn. It started small, just an odd distance. A laugh that lingered a little too long after I spoke. A picture of me she'd posted with a caption, "When you bring your maid to the party," then she'd say, "Relax, it's a joke, Leah. You're too sensitive." But the real fracture came senior year. We both applied to the same university. I didn't tell her, but she found out. She laughed in my face. "You actually think they'd pick you over me?" I did get in, she didn't. It was quiet between us for a week. Until the party. It was the night before graduation. She said it would be epic. I remember her hug when I arrived. It felt too tight. Too rehearsed. "I have a surprise for you later," she whispered. I thought maybe. She was proud of me. The last thing I remember from that night was the bonfire, glowing high into the trees. Everyone was drunk, screaming and dancing. Someone gave me a drink. Then another. Then another, then. Everything went black. I woke up in my front yard. Alone. Cold. Dizzy. The house was on fire. Windows exploded one by one as flames devoured everything I owned. My mom's photo albums. My childhood journals. My acceptance letter, gone, and Savannah was there. Across the street. Filming. She said it was an accident. That she tried to help. That I must have left the stove on or something. The fire department ruled it undetermined, no charges, no justice, but I knew by the way she smiled at me during graduation. That smug, innocent smirk, like she knew I'd never be able to prove it, like she'd won, and something in me cracked, not loud. Not violent. Just a soft tearing. Like fabric giving way under too much strain. That night, I stood in the ashes. No family. No future. no home, and for the first time in my life, I didn't cry. I whispered into the dark, okay. Something in the air whispered back. That's when I started changing. It began with dreams, dark, sticky dreams filled with whispering fire and teeth in the walls. Then came the voice. At first I thought it was my own voice. Just louder. Crueler. But it wasn't, it was old. And angry. And patient. It asked me, do you want her to feel it too? And I said, yes, because she didn't just burn my house, she burned me, and now. I was ready to return the favor, but I wouldn't use fire, no. Fire is too fast, too kind. I would burn her life from the inside out, slowly. I would take everything she loved, piece by piece, and she wouldn't even know it was me. Until there was nothing left but smoke. I spent the first week after the fire sleeping in the public library bathroom. No one noticed. No one ever does. That's the beauty of being invisible. You can become anything. Even a ghost. I watched Savannah from afar. She had no idea, no clue that the ashes of my old life were still breathing, watching her, remembering everything. She posted a tribute on Instagram, devastated to lose my best friend's home. Life is so fragile, and she used #prayers for Leah. She tagged me in it. That post got over 4,000 likes. People commented how beautiful and strong she was for supporting me. Some even sent her donations. Not me, but for her. I sat on a bench outside the school auditorium and scrolled through the comments until my fingers went numb. That was when the voice returned, not in words, in sensation, like blood boiling in reverse. Cold. Controlled, a hum beneath my skin, like I was being rewired cell by cell. It whispered a name, Liam, her boyfriend, perfect, sculpted, shiny Liam. A varsity swimmer with good hair and a fake heart. Savannah paraded him around like a trophy she hadn't won fairly. I knew something she didn't, something he forgot. 2 years ago, one party, one mistake, one drunken kiss, me and Liam. He barely remembered it. But I did. Because it was the first time someone looked at me like I mattered, and I saved the texts. The picture. His shirt, I didn't need much, just a burner Instagram. A new number. A voice changer app, and a little spark. The account I made was subtle, anonymous, no bio, just a message to Savannah. Ask Liam about the girl he kissed at Mason's party. Her name was Leah. She didn't respond, but that night, Liam unfollowed her. 2 days later, they broke up. Savannah posted a cryptic quote on her story. Some people pretend better than they love. No tag, but everyone knew. And suddenly, she wasn't smiling in the hallways anymore. Strike one. But that wasn't revenge. That was just foreplay. Real revenge is tailored. Personal. Surgical. So I turned my focus to the one thing Savannah cared about more than Liam, her reputation. You see, she had this little secret. She wasn't as clean as she made herself seem. She used to sell fake prescription pills to underclassmen, Xanax, Adderall. Mostly fake, sometimes real, and always in someone else's locker. She bragged about it to me once, laughing. God, if they ever found out, I'd be so screwed. I still had screenshots. Audio. Pictures. I uploaded them all to an anonymous email account, sent it to the school principal, BCC'd the local newspaper for good measure. I didn't stick around to watch the fallout, but I didn't have to. By the next morning, Savannah was pulled out of class. By afternoon, her parents were called in. By evening, she was suspended pending investigation. She deleted all her social media that night. Strike two. But here's the part that made me feel something close to joy. It wasn't the punishment, it was the silence, the sudden absence of her voice in the world. No selfies. No captions. No filters, just silence. She started walking with her head down, no friends trailing behind, just her, alone. Like me. And I should have stopped there. That should have been enough, but it wasn't, because revenge doesn't quench you. It starves you. And the voice, the thing inside me, it had only just woken up, it wanted more, it wanted her afraid, so I gave her fear. I waited until the 3rd week, until she started showing cracks, until I saw her crying behind the gym, then I began the letters, handwritten. Left in her locker. Her mailbox. Slipped under her windshield wiper, each one started the same, "Do you feel the heat yet?" Some were blank. Others were filled with ashes. I once left a matchbox inside her purse with one match missing. She screamed in the hallway when she found it. And slowly her world began to shrink. She stopped going out, stopped talking to people, she switched phones. Changed her number. She started locking her bedroom window, but locks don't stop ghosts, and I had become one. Strike 3 was different, it was personal. It wasn't about public humiliation, it was about pain. Her dog, Luna, a white husky with 2 different colored eyes. Savannah loved that dog like it was her child, so I didn't hurt Luna. I'm not that kind of monster, but I took her, only for a night. I left the gate open, made a trail of snacks toward the edge of the woods. She wandered out just like I hoped. I found Luna an hour later, hiding near the stream. Confused but unharmed, I brought her to the local shelter and left an anonymous tip. Savannah didn't sleep that night, she posted flyers. Begged strangers on TikTok to help. Cried on live, 12 hours of torment, then, like magic, Luna was found. I watched her collapse into her dog's fur, sobbing in the shelter parking lot, and I smiled, because now she knew, someone was watching her, someone who knew how to take, and next. I'd take the one thing she never thought she'd lose, her family, not in the way you're probably thinking. I wasn't going to hurt them, not physically. That's not how you destroy people like Savannah. Girls like her don't feel pain through bruises or broken bones. They bleed through exposure, they rot from within. Savannah's entire identity was built on one illusion, the perfect family, Sunday brunches, curated Christmas cards, matching outfits, #blessed captions with her mom's gluten-free pancakes. But I knew the truth, because years ago, I spent enough time in that house to hear the yelling through the thin bedroom walls. I heard her father's voice, rage wrapped in control. And I saw her mother flinch at shadows that hadn't moved. I remembered the day Savannah casually said, "If my dad ever found out Mom was still talking to her ex, he'd bury her in the backyard." She laughed when she said it. I didn't, so I dug. There's always a trail, photos, emails, phone bills. Her mom was still in contact with that ex, a man named Craig Monroe. He lived 2 cities away, married. 3 kids. I sent an envelope to Savannah's father, plain. Unmarked. Inside, a printout of hotel receipts, a photo of Mrs. Hart and Mr. Monroe hugging too closely outside a steakhouse, and one line in block letters, "Your princess isn't the only liar in your castle." I left it in their mailbox at 3:12 a.m. on a Wednesday. The next day, Savannah didn't show up at school. By Friday, the neighborhood was buzzing. People said there had been a fight. Police were called. Screaming was heard. A window had been broken. Mr. Hart moved out, no confirmation, just whispers. But that was enough. By Monday, Savannah returned. Thinner, eyes puffy, wrist wrapped, the smell of lavender detergent replaced by cheap cigarette smoke on her clothes. Her smile was gone. Strike 4. I had shattered her mirror, but still I wasn't finished, because something had changed in me. This wasn't about balance anymore. This was hunger. I didn't just want her to suffer. I wanted her to understand. I wanted her to look in the mirror and see me. The girl she used to mock, the one she left in the cold, the one whose life she set on fire and danced in the ashes like it was all a joke. So I decided to become her shadow, not metaphorically, literally. I began showing up, in places she didn't expect, behind her at the grocery store, sitting across the cafe where she studied, at the gas station 2 pumps away. I never said a word, just stared. Sometimes I wore a hoodie. Other times, I wore her style. Her lipstick. Her perfume, mirroring her, piece by piece, like I was reconstructing her skin around my bones. She noticed. I saw it in the way her shoulders twitched when I passed, in the way she'd freeze when our eyes met, in the way her hand hovered over her phone, debating whether to call someone, but she never did, because who would believe her? I think my ex-best friend who's basically homeless is stalking me and impersonating me sounds more like a cry for attention than a cry for help, and that's what I counted on. Doubt, isolation, the kind she left me to drown in. Then came the night of the scholarship banquet. She still had one last thing left. Hope. Despite her suspension and scandals, she'd made it to the final round for a prestigious arts grant. It was her chance to escape, to go to the city, study fashion, reinvent herself. She posted about it 3 times a day, counting down. The venue. The dress. The speech she'd practiced in front of the mirror. It was going to be her redemption arc. I couldn't allow that. So I made a new plan. I found the final judge, a woman named Ms. Evelyn Rhodes, respected. Elite. Very private, but not private enough. A few hours of social engineering, and I hacked into her inbox. I created an email thread titled, Urgent, concerning applicant Savannah Hart. Inside, I uploaded fake screenshots, plagiarized sketches, stolen designs from other student portfolios, and a typed confession. I never thought anyone would find out. I didn't think it was a big deal. But I needed the win. I sent it on the morning of the banquet, then I showed up in the lobby. I watched from a corner in a thrift store dress and stolen lipstick as Savannah arrived in a gown that looked like it cost more than my life. She was glowing. Hopeful. Nervous, until she was pulled aside, whispers. Furrowed brows. A clipboard. A shaking head. She never made it to the stage. They didn't even let her sit in the audience. She stormed out crying, mascara dripping down her cheeks like melting wax. I followed her, not too close. Not too far. She got into her car and screamed into the steering wheel. She didn't drive off. She just sat there sobbing. That was the moment I almost felt bad. Almost, but then I remembered the fire, the smell, the way she laughed, and the last of my pity turned to smoke. I left a note on her windshield that night, typed. Laminated. Taped down. It read, "Do you see me now?" The next morning, her parents reported a break-in. Nothing was taken, but her closet was slashed, her makeup poured into the sink, her bedsheets burned. No fingerprints. No witnesses, just a faint smell of ashes and lavender. They never found out who did it, but Savannah knew. Oh, she knew. And still, there was one more thing to take, the final ember, her mind. Because once the world stops believing you, once your friends scatter, your future crumbles. And your own home starts to feel like a stranger's house, you're left with only one battleground, your sanity. And that's exactly where I plan to finish this, not in the courts, not in the streets, but in the quiet war of her thoughts, where shadows whisper louder than screams. The first step was simple: control her nights. Insomnia is a slow poison. It unravels you. Makes the corners of your room twitch. Turns clock hands into claws, so I made sure she never slept again. Every night for a week, I'd sit outside her house. Not close enough to be seen, but close enough to see her, through the window. Her bedroom light would flick on and off at odd hours. She was trying to convince herself it was nothing. Just her imagination. Just nerves. But her eyes, God, her eyes told a different story. They were hollowing. One night, I left a portable speaker beneath her window, hidden under the azaleas. At 2:47 a.m., it started playing a soft, looping voice. Do you smell the fire? Do you smell the fire? Do you smell the fire? She bolted upright in bed, stared at the walls like they might melt. She rushed out into the yard with a flashlight in trembling hands. Didn't find it, didn't sleep. I retrieved the speaker before dawn. Night after night, I twisted her mind further. A missed call from an unknown number at 3:06 a.m. A voicemail with just her own voice crying, recorded from months ago. A shadow standing across the street, unmoving. Me. She stopped going to school. She stopped leaving the house altogether. She turned off her phone. Deleted her socials. And her parents, they didn't know what to do with her anymore. They'd scream at each other in the living room, and Savannah would sit at the top of the stairs in her robe, clutching a cup she never drank from, eyes glassy, head tilted like she was waiting for something to finally snap. But it never did, not yet, because there was still one thing I had to do: let her see the truth. Let her look in the mirror and finally understand what she did. Not just what she caused, but what she created. So I invited her to meet me. Anonymous message, no threats, just one sentence: come to where it started. Alone. Or I'll finish it without you. I didn't need to explain, she knew exactly where I meant. The remains of my childhood home, they hadn't torn it down. Not yet. It still stood, blackened and rotting, wrapped in yellow caution tape and time, like a skeleton no one had the guts to bury. I waited for her inside. The floorboards creaked under my weight, the air thick with mildew and soot. The walls were scorched but still standing, like survivors too stubborn to fall. I stood where my bedroom used to be, where the posters of daydreams once hung, where I cried on birthday nights when no one came, where I waited for a friend to mean it. Then I heard it, her car, the slam of the door, her breath, and her footsteps slow, reluctant, soft. She stepped into the ruins like a sinner into a church made of bones. When she saw me, she froze. I wore her old cheer jacket, her shade of lipstick, her perfume. I was everything she used to be, and she was everything I used to feel. Leah? She whispered. Her voice cracked. I didn't answer, not with words. I handed her a mirror. One of those cheap hand mirrors with a floral handle. I had glued something to the back of it, a photo, us, freshman year, smiling on the bleachers. She had her arm around me. I had hope in my eyes. Savannah looked at it, trembling. Then she looked at herself in the mirror, and she saw it, not her face, not her makeup, the emptiness, the reflection of everything she had burned away, not just in me, but in herself. She dropped the mirror. It shattered at her feet. I didn't mean to, she whispered. That was the first time she ever said those words, and maybe she believed them, but I didn't, because you don't accidentally ruin someone's life for fun. You don't accidentally laugh while the fire eats their memories. You don't accidentally become the monster in someone else's origin story. I leaned in close, so close she could smell the smoke in my breath, and I said, now you live with what you made. Then I walked past her, through the ruins, and out into the cold air. I didn't have to watch her fall apart. I heard it, the choking sobs, the mirror slicing her hand when she tried to piece it back together. The way she called my name, not out of anger or guilt, but fear, real, trembling fear. Because for the first time Savannah Hart wasn't the one holding the match, she was just another girl trapped in the flames, and I had one final ember left, a gift, a secret, something she didn't even know I had, something that would finish her. It was tucked deep inside my bag, zipped into a leather folder with rusted corners, a copy of a journal, not mine. Hers. You see, before Savannah ever lit the match, before she stole Liam or paraded me around like a joke, before the party or the fire or the lies, she trusted me. There was a time when she told me everything. I was her vault, her safe space, the human diary no one else bothered to read. But during one of our sleepovers in 10th grade, she got careless. She passed out early, drunk on too many stolen wine coolers and her own ego, and I found it, tucked under her pillow in a pink sequined cover, her real diary, the one she never showed anyone. Inside, page after page of venom disguised as confessions. she talked about people like puppets, she talked about teachers she manipulated, girls she blackmailed, and boys she broke just to see if she could. She even wrote about me. Leah's sweet in that desperate puppy kind of way. It's honestly sad. But keeping her around makes me look more down to earth. I just have to be careful, she's observant. One day she might actually grow a spine. I copied every page, scanned them, saved them. For a long time I didn't know why, now I did, because the final ember isn't fire, it's truth, the kind of truth that can't be outrun, the kind that scorches reputations to ash. Savannah had applied for a teaching internship at a private arts academy, the last thing left in her fragile, spiraling future. A desperate shot at rebuilding. Reinventing, she wrote essays about growth, about accountability, about mentoring young girls, so I sent her diary pages to the board, labeled, "From her former best friend." Attached were notes on her manipulation, her false statements, and quotes from her own admissions, and just for flavor, I included a timeline of the fire, the fake drug scheme, the stalking, not how it really happened, of course, how she looked like the villain in every frame. Within 48 hours, her internship was revoked, her name blacklisted. They didn't even give her a chance to respond. They said her ethics were incompatible with leadership. It was over. No school, no friends, no scholarships, no career, just a hollow house, fractured parents, and the echo of her own cruelty ricocheting off the empty walls. And me? I didn't vanish, I thrived. I took my acceptance letter, charred but intact, from the night of the fire and sent a copy to another university. I got in. I started over. Quietly. Without her shadow. I don't use my old name anymore. Too many ghosts live in it. These days, I wake up in a different city. I have a small apartment, a cat named Ashes, and a peace I never thought I'd earn. But some nights, when it rains, or when I catch the smell of burning wood from someone's fireplace, I remember her. I wonder what Savannah thinks about in the silence, if she talks to her reflection like she used to talk to me, if she reads those broken diary pages and tries to pretend it wasn't really her who wrote them. Or if she finally understands that monsters don't always come with claws. Sometimes, they come wearing your old cheer jacket, with your lipstick, with your voice. Sometimes the monster is the mirror. I told you this story not because I want your pity, or your judgment, but because I want you to know, revenge isn't loud. It doesn't always come with sirens and screams. Sometimes, it whispers. Sometimes, it waits. Sometimes it wears a smile while it burns everything you are, slow, careful, and final. And if someone ever ruins your life and laughs about it, don't get mad. Don't scream. Don't beg, just wait, because when the match finally lands, make sure it lights their soul. Subscribe to this channel for more confessions in the dark.